Good day. My name is Lois Kemp. I'm from Infinite, and I'm really delighted that you can join our conversation where Beaverton School District is going to share their Infinite BrassRing journey. First, I'd like to welcome Steve, the CIO, Alfonso, where you're the Executive Administration for Talent Acquisition. We really appreciate you spending a lot of time with us. And of course, Yash, who's the Vice President here at Infinite. Thank you all. You know, just to put some context, I wanted to just say that finding the right talent acquisition and recruitment and onboarding solution is really a critical decision for any organization. It's not easy to necessarily balance the needs of the different stakeholders, the applicant that's their first impression, your staff who's using it, the IT organization. There's many different stakeholders. That's a really challenging process, and I know that folks are going to learn from your experience. So to kick things off, Steve, can you introduce the audience to Beaverton School District?
Yeah, the Beaverton School District serves about 38,000 students and their families, and we're located just outside of Portland, Oregon. We have 54 schools, and we have about 5,000 staff that work with our students. And we are situated right in the middle of a number of high-tech industries and other really good school districts. So for us, making sure that we can have an application to support hiring and finding the best staff for our students is very important.
I can only imagine. So now I'd like to maybe turn it over to Alfonso. And could you tell folks about your journey, how you evaluated the needs, how did you align it to the strategy? You know, how did you get your arms around, you know, the process with so many stakeholders?
Well, thank you for having us here. I will say that for Beaverton, as Steve mentioned, we are a good-sized district. We are the third largest in Oregon, and we are in some ways a district that tries to be ahead, not for the sake of being ahead, but for the needs that we have and for the public that we serve. And talking about this new approach to hiring and recruiting, the history has to do with the needs, responding to the needs. We have had systems for years, but those systems in some ways become old or static and not respond to the times. And I would say that what brings us to think about the options was the client, which is teachers seeking for positions and the experience that they were having, internal clients who are the hiring managers, principals, and even our staff, how things were working in this process and how efficient we were. And we found out after the study that there were so many areas that even though we have a software, we still were doing 80% by hand and by folders and by tracking paper with check marks. So we definitely had to think outside the box. And that's what we came to look for, what we really need to do as a new system and what tool and solutions will be the most useful for those purposes.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yash, I know that you engage with clients. Could you talk a little bit about how did you engage with the Beaverton team? How did you and the BrassRing team go about matching the requirements of the different stakeholders with what BrassRing has to offer?
Sure. Firstly, thank you very much for having me here. It's an honor to share the stage with Alfonso and Steve. See, we take pride in our customer-centric approach, whereby we build thought leadership, gain mind share, and this also helps in developing trust and establishing credibility for a strategic and transformative projects and engagements. So the first step, what we did was to understand the current gaps, pain points that exist, and the challenges that Beaverton School District was going through. We all know every organization is unique, so it was very much important for us to understand Beaverton School District's unique requirements, which Alfonso just briefly mentioned about it, right? And in addition to it, we also wanted to gain an understanding of the future vision, so that we are not only meeting the short and midterm goals of Beaverton School District, but we are aligning our solution and approach to the long-term goals and vision for a better ROI and a transformative experience across all the stakeholders. Candidate, hiring managers, recruiters, administrators, all the other stakeholders that are part and parcel of this kind of a talent acquisition process. So in the initial meetings, we demonstrated a deep understanding of the K-12 segment, right? We demonstrated a good understanding of the Beaverton School District's unique requirements. We also walked through our BrassRing offering by mapping it to the functional and technical requirements of the Beaverton School District functionality that is required. And we also showcased that BrassRing is future-proof. In addition to it, we formed a core team of highly experienced individuals. It was led by our solution and implementation lead, Subir Ghosh, who worked hand in hand with Alfonso and the entire Beaverton School District team. At the end of the day, we all know every business solution is an amalgamation of technological factor and a business factor. So our ability to customize, ease of design and flexibility, enhance UI, data-driven deep insights, coupled with advanced automations and integrations, brought in or hit the core from a business perspective. And our cloud-based SaaS offering took care of all the technology factors like agility, nimbleness, high performance, scalability, secure environment, and compliance, which is very much required. And we have to take care of all the privacies and all the stuff. So after the award, right, so we brought in best practice for implementation. Thereby, we went live in quick time as planned. Touch wood, we did not hit the roadblocks. That was great. And last but not the least, the tailored training is a key component, right? So we enable multiple sessions to enhance user experience, to acquire and enhance the experience of all the stakeholders. So in short, the persona-based approach and the persona-based training is fundamental and critical.
Thanks, Yash. That really sounds great. Sounds like very comprehensive. But I'd really like to turn it over to Alfonso and say, it sounded great in principle, but how did you, when you make that become a reality, how did that actually turn those requirements, which sometimes are much better on PowerPoint, actually into a truly tangible implementation?
I will just go back for a minute in the sense that typically in a school district, with the exception of the really specialists, we are coming from the teacher business. We're teachers. That happens to be right now in HR. So when we're looking for a software or tools, typically we go to providers that specialize in education, and we lose capacity or vision about what is possible. When we start this process, we try to look outside the box because the tools that were offered to us were not responding to the needs, or partially were responding to the needs. We needed a tool that was much more flexible to adapt to us rather than us adapting to the tool. And we came across of BrassRing, and at the beginning, the question was, that sounds beautiful, but can we afford it? Mm-hmm. We had good conversations and we realized that, well, we had to pay a little bit more, but it might be worth it for the impact that it will have. But going back to the question that you said about the process, I will just say that the first thing is is not only the tool, but what we want to do as a system, what service, what is working, what is not working, and what is the idea of an ideal model. And we just developed that. So that took a place with a lot of collaboration. I will say a key word is collaboration. It takes time, a lot of meetings, not from me, but from the people that is in the gateways, the personal specialists, the people that hire people all the time, principals, and ask, what's your dream? What would like the tool to do? We have different pathways, and we found out that it's different to hire an administrator than to hire a substitute or hire a support staff member. And we need a tool that offers all those different pathways and capacity to be flexible to the needs. So the design came, and with that, a lot of hours of work. That's the truth. I mean, this takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, but I would say it's an effort in collaboration, and that's what makes it really exciting, because you are developing a tool that will adapt to your needs rather than learning a tool and this is what the tool can do and you have to do it this way and you have a training and good luck with that. Here it has been a conversation with BrassRing for months now, and we still, after 6 months right now, we keep talking on a daily basis, and we have meetings on a daily basis because we're going to really details. The hope, and let me finish with this, is that all this effort will pay off. Yes, we have invested a lot of time, but first of all, what's needed. Second, we have a plan. Third, all the invest of time that we have done, it will pay off in the sense that my dream or dream, Beaverton dream in the future, is that we will not need to think about BrassRing because the tool is working by itself.
And that's really important what you said. I think a couple of things that I wanted to pull upon was you looked at your processes. I don't know that you realized it. When you said you asked people what they wanted, you didn't just take a tool and take your existing heavily manual process and just automate it. You kind of said, how do I want to enhance the business a little bit and make sure I'm doing it the way that you really wanted and that would suit the needs of the business, which is great.
I will just add to that one point because yes, it has been a learning process for Beaverton, but I really think has been a learning process for BrassRing as well. BrassRing, we found out that we are the third district that is working, but I really think that has been building capacity in both sense to say how a district works and what are the needs. And we have been building that capacity together. It started with a clear vision. And then from that, we had to do flow charts. And we spent internal hours just, okay, let's put in a flow chart and see if the flow, if this is what it works. And then we had to decode that with BrassRing and say, do we explain ourselves? And then to understand what the tool can do, all that is communication, conversations that take time, but that's the process that is needed for a successful project.
I understand. And I know that when you initially deployed, I think there was a job fair that took place right shortly after you went live. Can you provide any insight into that?
Well, we have a deadline that as when you have a project, and the truth is that we have a backup plan, but interestingly, we had a delay of 1 day from our deadline in this big project. Instead of Monday, we started on a Tuesday. And 2 days later, we found out that the district decided to increase numbers into some staff support positions. And we found out that the tool will be needed as soon as possible. I mean, the second day of implementation, we hired 200 people.
Wow.
In 1 month, in the first month of deployment, and the tool worked. So with this, I want to say that what makes this happen is that the tool is solid. Even some of the systems that we have to adapt to Beaverton are ongoing, but we have enough for the system to work the way that it was supposed to work, and the opportunity at the same time to test the system for the big season that typically the school district will come in the spring.
That's important. That really is. As I'm talking with you, I wonder if you could give some advice to folks that may be evaluating a talent acquisition system, maybe thinking about it. What would you say to them are the 3 things that are most important?
I will say 1, just keep always in mind your customer, because all what you are doing is because of your customer and to serve your customer. So talking about the teachers, how much time they spend in the application, how flexible work, how easy it is to do it, how intuitive is that to do it. Think about your internal customers as administrators. Administrators have to focus in kids and in teachers, not in a tool. So it has to be an easy tool to manage. Think about your staff. How can we make systems that what you are requiring and the systems that you put in place are supported by a tool and create communication and collaboration and accountability at the same time. So I will say, going back to that, focus on your customer, a lot of communication. That will be the second one, indirectly. Talk to your people, because this is an ongoing process to see how things are working, to bring things together, to test things, and to get feedback. And that's the way to improve.
That sounds great. One last question for you is, what's next for Beaverton on this journey?
When we took this tool, was not in isolation. One important requirement for this tool is to be a tool that will be talking with other systems. So they will talk from and to the system. And I will say that in the future, well, we are developing right now the onboarding module to something that never has done in Beaverton, has been happening in Beaverton, how to welcome and to be more efficient, welcoming the staff and being really specific what they need to do and the capacity to do it from home and not sending papers and signing papers physically, but electronically, and all those processes that in education are really complicated. So that's the next step, and I will say connect to our systems. I mean, Beaverton and the effort that the Department of IT in this case is huge, and we're into future projects, and this is just one of them. And this project will survive, I'm talking about BrassRing, as long as it's able to keep talking, to adapting to the needs, to adapting to the future, because in education and in society and in organizations, everything keeps moving.
Absolutely. And thank you. That's great insight. Steve, I didn't know if you had any additional comments you'd like to make.
Yeah, I think that a project like this, undertaking how we're going to improve the way we onboard or bring people into the organization, how we acquire our staff, is complex. And the heaviest lift is probably in what Alfonso said in terms of process redesign. But as Yash mentioned, there's all these other highly complex processes that have to be looked at. The security, when you're dealing with highly sensitive personal data, scalability. So as the system needs to flex due to unforeseen events, we need a system that's going to be able to do that. We have to have confidence in that. And then the integration piece is key. Data, for us to be most efficient, we have moved past the days where we are retyping, rekeying data. And so we have to have an adaptable system that lets us integrate and build efficiencies for our staff as they're trying to find the best staff to support our students.
That makes a lot of sense. Clearly integrating, making sure that the solution is part of the enterprise, and really handling those data and the data privacy issues is really important, not only to you, but to us as well. Yash, any comments from you?
Sure. I think firstly, I will indicate what Alfonso said to summarize 3 C's, right? Know your customer, collaboration, communication. I think it's spot on. And that's how I think this transformative project, the high visible project within the Beaverton School District, was successful, and we are going great as a team, right? So thank you very much, Steve Alfonso, for sharing your thoughts. It's really appreciated, right? And most importantly, trusting us and giving us the opportunity. And we are really proud to be part of this transformative journey ahead, right? And we believe infinite talent has enabled infinite possibilities, right? Powered by our next-gen BrassRing, facilitating applied BSD to be a game changer in the K-12 segment, right? And to transform and reimagine recruitment, hiring, and onboarding. So thank you, Lois, for your facilitating this discussion.
Thank you, gentlemen. I've learned a lot, and I look forward to future conversations. And I hope the audience did as well. And have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.